Are you winning in public and silently losing in private? I want you to let that sink in for a few minutes. It's time to get real about who we are behind closed doors and stop the cycle of being a public success and a private failure. As women, we deal with putting on this face of always experience success, even though there's a lot of turmoil and chaos going on in our background. And in today's video, I'm going to get real and raw and honest about the hidden battle that many of us face and how to truly break free. And I once dealt with this, and I appeared like I had it all together, successful. I had accomplished so many milestones in life, all of these goals that I had accomplished in life that I was so proud of. I had the confidence, but behind the scenes, I was battling a lot of self-doubt, burnout, a lot of feeling of emptiness. I just felt like things were just not going the way that I had planned. Although I had experienced all this success, I was winning in the world's view. It appeared that I had it all together, but I was losing my soul. And it was one of the most difficult times in my life because I was looking like the ideal woman that everyone wanted to emulate. But inside, there was so much, I wouldn't say turmoil, but there was so much pain happening on the inside that it was really a double life that I was leading. So having that public success, but the private failure was definitely the caption of my life during that time. And today, this message is for the woman who looks like she has it all together in public, but in private, you're dealing with a lot of things that need restoration. And today, this video is going to allow you to really lean in on what God has for you so that He can transform you from the inside out. And by the end of this video, you're going to learn how to close that gap between who you are in public and who you are in private. And what I want to do, of course, is share some biblical insight. And I want to give you some Bible verses to meditate on, along with some points to really allow you to see that even though there are things that are happening in your life, allowing God to create that transformation is going to be key to ensure that you are showing up as your authentic self. And the first thing that I want to point out is acknowledge the gap. So if we look at Psalm 139, verses 23 through 24, it says, "Search me, O God, and know my heart. Try me and know my anxieties, and see if there is any wicked in me, and lead me in the way everlasting." So you want to acknowledge the gap between who you are appearing to be and who you truly are. Now, we want to always show up as our authentic self. And many times there is a very big gap between the two. And I'm not saying that you need to put all your business out there and, walk around like a Debbie Downer, but it's very important that you are really being your true authentic self, because that's where God does His best work. He can't be really allowing transformation to take place if you're not acknowledging that transformation needs to happen. And it's okay to admit that behind that smile and success, there's some brokenness and struggle. We all have brokenness. We all have struggles in our life. And true healing begins when we are in that vulnerable place before God, so we can allow Him to search our heart and create that peace that we need in our life. And there was a time in my life where I really struggled with this. I didn't want anybody to know anything was going on wrong. I wanted to just work my way through it without any intervention from anyone. I was a very private person, which I'm still a private person. I just didn't share anything with anybody. And I wanted to try to figure out everything on my own. But despite those times where I was trying to figure everything out, there were so many things that were happening, and it was exhausting to try to continue to show this happy face where there was so much chaos and just madness going on behind the scenes. And a lot of times we get uncomfortable with others knowing what's going on, and we don't really want people to be let in. But you have to acknowledge that vulnerable place in your life and acknowledging that things are going on in your life, that is where true freedom can happen. And it really starts with surrendering and being vulnerable and allowing God to move in our life. And when I allowed that to happen, that's when the true freedom of showing up unapologetically and being authentic about who I am. Because at that point, there was nothing for me to hide. There was nothing for me to try to tuck away and act like everything was okay. But I know that on the heels of opening that door behind closed doors, that there were so many things that were going on in my life that were a hot mess. And we want to make sure that we are not allowing these things to take over because it's stressful. It causes so much just anxiety. It causes so much just discomfort. And it's so hard to really continue to regulate that because whatever is in private is going to eventually show up in public, no matter how much we try to mask it. But it's time for us to start being a open vessel of surrender so that God can do a work in our life. So I want you to take a moment and pray that Psalm 139, 23 through 24, and ask God to search your heart and reveal those hidden battles that you may be facing. As many times there may be things that we don't even acknowledge, and once we are fully surrendered to God, He's going to show us those things so that that transformation can begin. The second point that I want to make is take accountability and do the inner work. And if we look at Proverbs chapter 4, verse number 23, it says, "Keep your heart with all diligence, for out of it springs the issues of life." So accountability is a sign of maturing. And you want to stop blaming your external circumstances and start taking responsibility for your inner mess. There are so many times we can point the blame at other people, say that if they didn't do this, we wouldn't have done that. And it does not allow us to take responsibility for the mess that we created as a result of some of the decisions we made and some of the actions that we have taken. And true transformation begins with guarding our heart and renewing our mind. So we have to make sure that on a daily basis that we are renewing our mind so that we are less likely to commit those things again and again, and understanding that true repentance comes from taking accountability for those things that we are doing that are not right. And I struggled with the accountability. I still struggle with the accountability piece because it's so uncomfortable when people are calling you out on your stuff and you know that there are things that you're doing wrong, but you're not ready to accept it, nor are you ready to make that change. And until we are in a place to really confront those things that may be going on, because a lot of times we operate in a lot of pride, and we have to let that pride go and know that we have to be held accountable for those things. And the only way that we're going to transform is accepting accountability for the things that we do. And I tell you that sometimes you get called out on your stuff and then you sit and you think about it. And then the only way that you're going to change is allowing God to reveal those things to you, because there were many things that I had done and I felt that I was justified in doing those things because someone else did something to me. I was blaming them for my response to certain things. But then God had to show me that no, you were wrong. You need to fix it. And this is how you need to continue to walk in a transformed state and not continue to repeat that cycle of doing things and not taking responsibility for it. And when we think about this, the inner work that is not done, it leads to burnout, it leads to emptiness. And when I embraced the accountability, it brought me so much peace and it allowed me to grow. Am I there yet? No, I still have so much work to do in that place. But I'm seeing more and more that our surrender allows us to hold ourselves accountable. And when we begin to hold ourselves accountable and we don't have to hold on to those things, we start experiencing that peace. And then we grow into the woman that God has created us to be. And it's a daily surrender, it's a daily process, it's a difficult process, and it takes work. So, the last point that I want to make is letting God restore the broken pieces. So, if we look at Joel chapter 2, verse 25, it says, "So I will restore to you the years that the swarming locust has eaten." We know God is a restorer of all things, and He can bring out beauty out of our brokenness. We experience so many things in our life, so much hurt, so much pain, so much deception, and things happen in our lives. And sometimes we take that brokenness from one place to the next. We are broken in relationships. We take that into another relationship and we destroy people as a result of not allowing God to heal us so that we are fully ready to be loved by someone or to love someone else. And it's important that we have to stop pretending like we have it all together. Some of us are so broken and that we're taking our brokenness and we're destroying others' lives because we're not allowing God to restore us back to their place of wholeness so that we can be healthy and prepared to enter into another relationship, enter into another friendship with someone, enter into a healthy relationship with our siblings, with our parents, with our coworkers. It's so important that we understand that God is the restorer of all things, but we have to allow God to heal the hidden wounds. If we don't acknowledge them, we don't take accountability for those things, we remain in that same place with that brokenness, and then we again keep going on and on and on with those broken pieces that are shattered. You know, when you're putting a puzzle together, everything fits perfectly. But if you were to knock that puzzle off the table, everything is scattered, everything is all over the place, and it looks like a mess. But you have to take time to put those things back together. It requires an intentional effort to take those broken pieces and put them back together. And the same holds true with us allowing God to restore us when we have brokenness on the inside of us, because no one else can do that. Sometimes we take ourselves and put ourselves in a different situation, but we're that same broken person and we haven't allowed God to do a work in us. And we wonder why we're getting the same outcome out of every situation that we're going in. It's because we are the common denominator and we're not allowing God to create that restoration in our life. So I know that when we think about these things, I know we can probably think about countless times where we took our brokenness into other situations. I can count on my hand how many times that I created a bad situation because of my brokenness and not allowing God to heal those things that I needed healing from. But I was still showing up like everything was okay. You know how we talk about showing our representative like we have it all going on and we're so good. But then when we really dig deep and that mask comes off, we really show the brokenness that is on the inside of us. This is what I mean about letting God restore the broken pieces. And we want to understand that there's so much beauty that comes out of letting God into our mess and allowing Him to restore those things that are broken on the inside of us. So you want to invite God into your brokenness. Pray, and ask Him to restore those areas of your life where you have kept hidden, that you're not allowing yourself to show up as your unapologetic, true, authentic self. So as I conclude this video, I want to recap the 3 points that I made, and I want you to go back and really meditate on these verses. I think this is vital during this time. You understand that you want to experience success in every area of your life. And the only way that that happens is with truly surrendering your life and allowing God to create that transformation from the inside out. The first thing is this: you want to acknowledge the gap. You want to admit where you are struggling. You want to take accountability and do the inner work. Stop blaming others and start working on yourself. And lastly, you want to let God restore. Give God time to restore you before you take that brokenness into the next situation, or you take that brokenness into a situation where you know you really need to spend more time getting that restoration. Allow God to rebuild you from the inside out. It takes work, it takes time, it takes surrender, it takes obedience, and it really allows you to experience that peace that you need. So imagine who you could be if your private life matched what you're representing in public. Now, I'm not saying that you be a total open book, just exposing everything that's going on, because this does require some discretion. But what I'm really truly wanting to get across in this video is that I want you to understand the importance of why you have to do that inner work and allow the transformation to occur from the inside out. We need to be real, we need to be healed, and we need to be restored. And we need to stop with this fake phoniness, acting like everything in our life is a highlight reel when we know that is not the case. And if you are feeling like this is resonating with you, don't forget to subscribe and like this video, comment below, and let me know how these scriptures have transformed your life. If there's someone that you know would benefit from this message that I'm sharing today, share it with them. Get you a study partner and you all discuss how this can change your life. Because I guarantee if you really are intentional about focusing on this, God will transform your life. I'm also going to share a resource for you to help you expand on what I talked about today so that you can truly heal and allow yourself to reflect on all of the things that may be going on in your life so that you continue to move forward in all that God has for you. And it's not just the successful facade that I want you to show. I want you to show the true transformation that God has created, because this is where we win souls to Christ. This is where people really understand that, no, we don't have it all together. We're not perfect. We are a work in progress. But in that progress, we are allowing God to transform us. This is where that true authenticity can show up and people can see how God has changed your life, even in all the brokenness, even in all the chaos, even in all of the disorder that was in your life. You are showing up and letting people know that I did not do this on my own. God was the one who transformed me and allowed me to be the woman who I am today. So I want you to really embrace this message if this is something that you are experiencing in your life right now. Every day is a new day and you can start over and start fresh and start new. If there are things that I talked about today that you feel that you need some continued work on, just allow God to come into your heart to help you overcome these things. So again, if this message spoke to you today, share it with a woman who needs to hear this. And if you're ready to do the inner work, I invite you to join my free Facebook community. I just opened up the community. I'm going to share the links below in the video description. And I want you to be a part of a community that encourages growth and allows you to be all that God created you to be. I want you to also comment, share your experiences after you've had an opportunity to read and study the word and the biblical insight that I shared in this video. And of course, if you need prayer or additional support, definitely let me know and we can pray together so that we can continue to be the equipped woman that God has created us to be, living purposed, productive, and prosperous.